Hello, everyone. I am Desiree.
And I am Prem.
And welcome to Conversion Chronicles, the only synergy podcast where marketing and sales converge in every single episode with actionable insights.
We are here in the second and the fourth Tuesdays of every month at 11 a.m. Eastern Time for 1 hour to serve the business community on strategic growth, scalability, and efficiency. Thank you for listening. Be sure to like this episode, tell your friends, and follow us for more exciting episodes in the future.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to our first podcast. Hello, Prem.
Hello.
So this episode is called Market Like a Pro, Sell Like a Champ, and Start 2024 Strong. We are super excited to be here. We've been planning this for many, many moons. And we are here, like we said, every second and fourth Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And we are bringing you the Conversion Chronicles podcast, the synergy podcast for marketing and sales converge. So I will introduce myself first. My name is Desiree Hellick. I am the owner of Clarence Services, which is a marketing agency out here in New Jersey. I was born and raised in Vancouver, Canada, and I made my way across the continent, started my career, college in marketing, left college as a neuroscientist, did that for 6 years, and then went back into marketing for another 15 years, and now I am out on my own. I've had my own agency for about 4 years now. So that's me. How about you, Prem?
Well, thank you, Desiree, and welcome all. As Desiree said, my name is Prem Kumar, and I have over 30 years of sales and management experience in life sciences and managing brands. I own a company called Efficace Consulting, which is based off in Flemington, New Jersey. And I work with small enterprises in strategic planning on their business plans and how well to execute. But I've been doing strategy all my life. You know, I came to the United States in March 10th, 1989 with $250, and ever since I've been strategizing. Awesome. It's a fun thing, and of course, with $250 in your pocket, you figure out how to survive. And here we are, about 35 years later, still having a lot of fun in helping people strategize. So from an experience perspective, I've had multiple roles in corporate America, managing brands, managing large teams, both in the sales as well as the marketing side. And as Desiree said, our goal is to bring this podcast where marketing and sales fall into a synergized way of execution, so that whatever your plans are comes alive, and you make a lot of money as you go through close in on 2023. So let's talk about the motivation behind this, right? So the motivation for us, and as Desiree said, we've been working on this for a few months, and here we are. And the idea behind this came about because as we were doing our research, there are multiple podcasts on marketing. There's multiple podcasts on sales, but we didn't find many that kind of converged the two entities together, so that you can bring the outputs from marketing and the goals, the overall goals, and the connectivity between what marketing does strategy-wise and how the execution comes together. We didn't find many, so we thought it would be an ideal platform for especially small businesses to benefit out of our experiences, and that was one of the main reasons why we started this podcast. And as Desiree and I talked about our experiences, we want to bring our expertise together to see how we can benefit the community at large, especially in Flemington, Hunterdon, and of course anywhere in the world, to benefit from our experiences and some of the lessons learned all along the way. So Des, why does this podcast matters? Give us a framework of it.
Good question. So it matters because personally, in my experience in the corporate world, the marketing departments and the sales department do not speak to each other as much as they should. They should be communicating. They should be always working together.
Absolutely.
The salespeople, they're out in the field. They understand the pain points of the prospects and of the current clients or customers. the marketing people need to communicate with the salespeople to understand that so that they can craft the messaging to attract new prospects.
Right.
And that is where the missing piece is. I feel like for most businesses, whether they're small, medium, or large, for some reason, sales and marketing work in silos. And we want to encourage small businesses to not do that.
Right.
And any type of business, doesn't have to be small business, any business should identify how much they are communicating between those departments. But what's really, we want to talk about some, crucial business functions, and some of those are the strategic insights, where, you need to come up with effective marketing and sales strategies together in order for you to gain that competitive advantage and also meet your goals. Because if you have a sales goal, then what does that mean for marketing, right? And it all has to be aligned. You have to make sure that both marketing and sales, that you're customer centric and that there's a focus on that. That's a really huge thing. And digital transformation, how can you use technology to your advantage for both marketing and sales? Create automation where you can for manual processes that don't have to be manual, and that you have the access to automating them. I'll let you carry on with the networking and all that other stuff that we have next.
Yep, sure. So before we get into that, let's understand the nexus of marketing and sales. What is it? What is marketing and sales? By definition, the two are mostly very related to each other because they're distinct functions within the business entity, as Desiree pointed out. But they have a common goal, which is absolutely generating the revenue for the bottom line, right? Increasing revenue, generating it and sustaining it and growing it as your goals and aspirations allow you to. While they are different focuses from a strategic perspective and roles and responsibilities, they are highly intertwined. In other words, one cannot work without the other, right? And the overall success of any organization, in my experience, and I'm sure it's yours too, and many others have felt the same, they are directly related to the aligned efforts of both these entities, marketing and sales. So before we get into the details, Desiree, since you have a lot of expertise in marketing, why don't you tell us about a little bit more details on the marketing side of it?
Yeah. So just to back up a little bit, I have a lot of clients who, our job is to help them generate leads for a lot of our clients. And they'll come at me and they'll say, well, we have all these leads, but none of them turn into clients, right? And so when I met you, it completely closed that. It was like the missing piece to the puzzle, right? Because it's not marketing's, I don't want to say fault, but marketing is not responsible for closing a lead. What they're responsible for is generating qualified leads.
Right.
Then the salespeople have to come in and take those leads and do something with them, whatever it needs,
Sure.
to take to convert them into clients. And that was the missing piece for a lot of my clients. They were like, well, we have a pile of these leads, but we have no customers.
Sure.
But so what are you doing with that lead after they come in?
Absolutely.
And that's the problem. I think companies, they'll spend so much money and so much effort on generating these leads, and then they sit there and collect dust and they expect magic to happen after that.
Right.
But that's where your team comes in, right? And your training.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, let's have a strategy on after the lead comes in, what happens with them. But from a marketing perspective, all of these businesses need to think of marketing as part of their foundation. I think a lot of times it's the first thing you cut. Mm-hmm. And it's the last thing you spend money on for some reason, even though it's really fueling the machine, correct, right? It's like putting gas in your car. That's what marketing is. It makes you go, and it makes you generate the revenue that you're looking for. But there's really 4 main areas of marketing that I really want to bring to this podcast and to our listeners. And that falls under branding. It falls under promotion, metrics, and then your customer relationships. And you can pretty much fit every single piece of marketing under one of those 4 categories. And so, just to we'll touch a little bit more later today in this on each of these, but branding, market research, you've got to understand who your audience is. What is your value proposition for your company? If you could say it in one sentence, what is that? You need to differentiate yourselves from the competitors. Otherwise, why would they ever invest any money in your products or your services?
Right.
You need to come up with effective pricing strategies. And then, create content that can speak to all this and that really brings out your brand's personality. Then you move on to promotion, which obviously is, advertising, lead generation, channel distribution. What channels are you deciding to promote your services or products on? And then search engine optimization is a whole other thing. And then you move on to metrics, which is really just how are you measuring the success of your marketing programs? What KPIs are you using? How often are you reporting on these things? So make sure that every single effort you make in marketing can be analyzed and it can be reported on. Sure. And that's how you know which way to go. That's how you know, let's stop working on this activity. Let's start, investing more on this one because it's working better than that one is. Right. So metrics is really, really important. You have to measure everything that you're doing. And then finally, customer relationships. How are you retaining your customers? And a lot of people don't think this is marketing, but it really is, because you have to communicate with your customers. You have to tell them what's new. You want to upsell and cross-sell your customers to make sure that you are expanding that customer lifetime as much as you possibly can. And then you want to create ambassadors out of them. You want them to be ambassadors of your brand, loyalty programs, all that kind of stuff to make them stick around. And marketing through your social media platforms, email marketing, YouTube videos, giving them any type of content possible that would attract them to stay with you.
Right.
So that's really a very high level outlook of what we are, we want to focus on from a marketing perspective. So how about yours?
Absolutely.
Sales?
So essentially, Desiree, if I can encapsulate everything that you said, marketing's primary role, right, would be to create awareness and interest in companies' offerings, right? Generate the leads.
Yep.
And then create a favorable perception in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And then it sets the sales stage for sales, but for creating these opportunities for potential customers and to learn about considering them to consider purchasing whatever you're offering, right? So if you talk to the implementation on the sales side, it actually falls into 4 buckets. Of course, the lead qualifications. We'll get into the details of it, but lead qualification, what does that mean? Leads, you need to qualify. Some may be ready now, some may be not ready at all.
Yeah.
Some may be not, they're waiting for budget cycle to get over, fresh monies to come in. The investment protocol is not in place, whatever the reason may be, right? You need to identify what those leads are. You need to have a very valid sales presentation. That's not a book. It has to be to the point, quick, and, short and succinct so that they understand what your products are. Then you do, of course, there's always a negotiation part of it, and then you have to close it, right? These are the 4 aspects of it. So essentially, marketing, as I said, creates the environment or the favorable atmosphere in the marketplace for any products that you sell. Sales, on the other hand, takes those opportunities and convert them into potential customers. And the alignment, as we spoke about this, is absolutely critical between what marketing does from a strategic perspective and then how does the strategy come alive from the execution perspective. That's where the marketing and the sales synergy has to take place. And to our ultimate goal of Conversion Chronicles is to bring those 2 together and highlight how the synergy between them can duplicate, triplicate your business goals, right? So how it gets intertwined is the lead generation, it goes into the information flow, the brand consistency, and the feedback loop, as Desiree pointed out. So if you summarize all this, marketing and sales have very distinct roles and responsibilities. They're interdependent. They have to work collaboratively to engage, convert customers, but an effective alignment between these 2 is absolutely critical to the success of any brand, any enterprise, any small business, or any offerings that you go to. So, Desiree, as the next step, let's go a little deeper into the branding aspects of it. I know you outlined a few aspects of it. Let's go deeper into that, and then we'll come back to the sales part of it, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah. So, thinking from, and whether you have been in business for 50 years or you're just starting today or 6 months ago, I think a lot of this really needs, a lot of people go backwards when they're starting their own businesses, where they do what they're good at, not necessarily everything that needs to be done are you good at, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
when you're building your foundation for your business, there's a lot of things that people skip. And we want to make sure that you cover those angles, even if you've been in business for years, right? And one of those things is really market research.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to know, is there demand out there for your product or service? What is your competition right? Or like, are you in the right geography for it? For example, are you selling snowsuits in Florida, right? Probably not a great place to be doing that. So you have to adjust according to your market research. Is your business profitable? There are so many ideas out there that are brilliant, but they're just not feasible, right? There's no profit that comes from them, or people wouldn't be willing to spend the money on the product or service if they are profitable, right? So it may be a good idea, but it might not make you any money. So you have to make sure you do your market research before you actually launch your business. Or if you've already launched your business, you do some market research and you realize this isn't feasible, then pivot, right? Find something that is feasible in the same realm of, of whatever you're offering. The next thing is really understanding your audience. I cannot stress this enough. When we work with our clients every day and we treat ourselves as a client, you have to know your target audience so well. You have to be able to know, their age group, where they generally live, what they do for fun, what they do for a living, what industries do they typically work in, are they parents, are they married, are they divorced? The more you understand about your client and their pain points, like what keeps them up at night, and what would cause them to seek out somebody like you, right? Who either offers a product or a service. Once you know all of this information, you can find them so that you can market to them, but also you can speak their language.
Sure.
And that's going to spark their interest in whatever you're doing or offering, and will make them call you or click or, fill out a form or whatever that may be. So understanding your audience is really crucial. It's also crucial for your branding because you want to shape your messaging, so that it speaks directly to them. The next thing is have a value proposition. And I always think about a website. When somebody lands on your website, they need to know exactly who your audience should be, your target audience, right away. They should know your value proposition. So in one sentence, what are you offering that is exciting and that is not the norm, right? Because we want to differentiate ourselves as business owners. Otherwise, why would anybody ever spend their money on whatever we're offering, right? Sure. So the value proposition is a big deal. And that also goes with your differentiators. Like list why you are different than your competitors. The next thing is really branding. So what is the personality of your business? I feel like the word branding is so broad. Like you could say, a lot of people are like, well, it's hard to define what branding is. But it really is the personality of your business. If your business had to dress up in clothing, what would it look like, right? What would their voice sound like? Is it professional and perfection, or is it sarcastic and humorous? Is it playful and fun? So you have to know what your target audience is like in order for you to shape your brand to attract your target audience. So Branding not only is the outfit it's wearing, so the visual aspects of it, but it's also the tone and all the messaging behind your brand. So make sure that you are being very consistent with whatever your brand is, and that means font styles, colors. When you print things out,
Right.
if you don't have those, those actual the colors of your brand specifically given to the printers, then it'll come out all sorts of colors. So
Sure.
make sure that you're very specific with that. And make yourself memorable. Make your brand memorable. There's a reason why we all know ba-da-ba-ba-ba, right? We all know that's McDonald's, right?
Right.
And it's like, how do they do that? But it's persistence, it's consistency. Obviously, Justin Timberlake doesn't help because he's super famous, but it's branding is very much more important than anybody really thinks, because a lot of it is subconscious.
Absolutely.
And then there's pricing strategies. If you can, everybody who's listening, please try to package your services or your products. Make sure that you have a one price, or you might have 3 price points, but so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you're sending a proposal to your client.
Right.
It makes it easier on you. It makes it easier on your staff members. It's easier to deliver, package your services or products, and create pricing strategies where it's, small, medium, large type thing. And that's really going to help sell. Content creation, you want to make sure you're creating blogs and videos, social media posts, emails, great content on your website. And that pretty much, still very high level, but that kind of completes the branding section.
Sure.
And then when we move on to promotion, it's like, how are you going to get this message across, right?
So just a quick comment on branding, right? So to everything that you just said, if you about the targeting, you understanding your value proposition, your target profiles, things like that. Another great example other than McDonald's is BMW, right? If you take BMW, and there's multiple cases, just something that came to me in my mind, is that what is the tagline? It's the ultimate driving machine, right? By saying so, they already identified who their target is. It's a luxury brand. They're looking for a certain clientele that can afford the BMWs, the luxury of driving an ultimate driving machine, and then the aura of, driving a machine, something like that. Similar to that, Mercedes has got that branding sense to it, the prestige and the essence that goes along with it.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're referring to when it comes to the branding and the loyalty and the marketplace that you create for your business.
It's the feeling that is associated with when you see it or hear it or listen to it.
Absolutely.
Right. And what that does is it creates predictability.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you walk into a BMW dealer, you have these expectations, and that's when the operations come in. Are you meeting those expectations of your brand?
Right.
Right. So then it's just a whole system.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Yep.
And we'll get into all of that in the future. But moving on to promotion. So, how are you going to entice your prospects? And a lot of people will I see this so much in magazines or newspapers or, any, even online, any type of advertisement for a business where they're actually paying to be somewhere. And there's no call to action. It's like, everybody, please put call to actions on your advertisements.
Right.
And for those of you that don't know exactly what that means, it's how do you want your prospect to take action on a landing page or if they're reading a magazine, whether it's an article or it's an advertisement. What do you want them to do? Do you want them to go to your website and fill out a form? Do you want them to use a promo code when they call you to make an order? What exactly is it that you want them to do? So that's a call to action, and make sure that you are using them everywhere. And with every piece of content you put out there, you want to hook them, you want to retain them, and you want to reward them. So there's a fallacy right now where people think that you need really short content,
Right.
because you because we have these, our attention spans are really short.
Sure.
It is very true that it's short, but if you have the right content, someone's going to sit there for 6 minutes and read or watch whatever you're giving them.
Right.
If it's good enough content. So doesn't necessarily mean that you need super short content. It means you need really good quality content.
Authentic.
Authentic, yes,
content.
and genuine. And anytime you can bring a story into it, putting it in the perspective of a person experiencing whatever you're talking about, that's the best way you're going to hook. So remember, hook, retain, reward. And the reward is, what are they going to do after they read or take in your content? Will they learn something?
Sure.
That's the reward, right? A reward could also be like a free download, a free checklist, right? So just make sure that you guys are always thinking that hook, retain, reward. You have to decide what marketing channels you're going to use, and you don't have to be on them all.
Right.
Just choose the best places where you can find your target audience. And that goes back to knowing your target audience, because then you're going to know where they hang out. Are they Facebook people? Are they Twitter people? Are they TikTok people? Are they LinkedIn people? Right? We all know that the B2B platform is LinkedIn. So if you are B2B, most likely you will probably be able to find your target audience on LinkedIn. That's just one example. But understand what channels that you should be on. And that goes with market research as well. Lead generation. So how are you going to attract these people, right? And if you've never done lead generation, because a lot of businesses rely on word of mouth before they realize, oh, this isn't really that reliable of a method. Choose 3 lead generators and then do that for 3 months. Do all 3 for 3 months, and then collect all your analytics and your data on that, and choose the best ROI, the method that gives you the best ROI, and then put your money into that one.
Sure.
If it worked. So that's my advice for lead generation. Search engine optimization. This is really what is your presence like online? What efforts are you taking so that you are driving more traffic to your website? And of course, Google is the big driver in that one. We will get to that on another episode. Advertising. So sometimes you have to play, right? And ads will definitely help you reach larger audiences that are more targeted depending on what you're doing. Digital marketing is a lot more easier to target than, say, a billboard or more traditional advertising. And finally, metrics. Just track what you're doing. Right. Make sure that you are tracking everything you're doing. And if you can't track it, don't just pull an idea out of the sky. Make sure that you're using history to really, push your decisions for the future. And then, the customers, making sure that you have great customer relationships. And I mean, how important that is.
Absolutely.
And that really rolls into sales as well, right?
Right.
So how about you? What about a deeper sales dive?
So thank you for summarizing some of the pillars of marketing, right? And if you take all the strategic part that Desiree just discussed about, and how do you come into the execution part, that's where the sales comes in, right? As we talked about the 4 pillars: lead qualification, the sales presentation, the negotiation, and the close, right? So when you're looking at the lead qualification, if I may go a little deeper, you need to be doing the right prospecting. You need to identify the potential leads that are ready to go with you now versus later. Then how do you capture the lead? You're gathering the information. It all goes into what Desiree talked about, the exercise of understanding your customer. I call it the profiling exercise, because when you profile the exercise, just not the name, the business establishment, how long they've been there, but to Desiree's point, understanding who the decision makers, who the stakeholders are, what the budgets are, budget cycle is, who are the other stakeholders within the organizations, who are the gatekeepers of the organization, right? All those goes into the profiling exercise. And I actually, when I do sales training and things like that, or workshops, I have a whole workshop on profiling, because it is a very important aspect of the marketing and the strategic part of it. But the more you do it, sales become that much easier because you don't waste your time trying to figure out who's your lead qualification part is, right? Then, of course, the sales presentation has to come in. You need to be prepared for, so from a sales presentation perspective, as to what is the content that you're going to deliver. It doesn't need to be a speech. It needs to be very succinct, to the point, something that I think what Des you stated about that they connect with. Mm-hmm. And the connectability, again, goes back to the profiling or understanding your customer, because what their pain points are. If the customer's pain points are addressed with your sales presentation, they will be interested in it. Mm-hmm. Then, of course, based on their interest, the negotiation parts comes in. How, when you come to the negotiation part, the one aspect that I always tell is listen. The more you listen, you come to know what the angles of negotiation comes in. The positioning part of your product versus where they are, they have to be aligned, because otherwise no customer is going to buy anything from it. And of course, you may have to compromise here and there, but as long as it's beneficial to both parties and something that paves the road for more collaboration, and that's what you're looking for. Authentic collaboration. I always talked about authenticity, because integrity is part of any business deals you do. And along with that, any programs that you put out there, it has to be authentic, it has to be truthful, it has to match with the vision and the mission of the company that you built so far. And of course, that leads to closing. Of course, there's a trial close. Always there's a trial close. Overcoming objections becomes a big part. So how well you rehearse all this within yourself, and understanding the customer base and how you position yourself, all that comes into play when it comes to closing. And then, of course, once you make the decision, process happens. Once you have the customers, don't walk away, because that's another thing that many companies do. They acquire the sales and then say goodbye, right? That's when your actual work starts. You feed that customer from a customer service perspective, so that they are long-term clients of you. That's how the referrals and the lead generations from something that you've actively done and successful, it comes along. Mm-hmm. So these are some of the 3, 4, 5 components of sales. And as you saw here, maintaining open communication, building that trust, adapting the sales approach based on the feedback is very crucial to the success. A customer, I think you referred to it when we opened the podcast, a customer-centric approach. Now, everybody talks about customer-centric, right? Yeah. What does that mean? Yeah. That means you are aligned with the customer needs. Sometimes it may not be that profitable, but you go along. Once you have a collaboration with a customer, you make sure that customer is like family. Is happy and content and trustworthy, right? Because that's how you resolve their problems and you provide value to a customer.
But also from a marketing perspective, when you think about the customer journey, I think people don't think about that enough. For example, if you have, let's say you have an email marketing campaign going out, mm-hmm. and it could be, let's say it's about baby shoes, okay? And you have a call to action, click here to learn more about these baby shoes that you're selling. Okay, so then you click on the button on this email, and where does it bring you? To the home page of the website. And this is a shoe, let's say it's a shoe warehouse, okay?
Yep.
Where do you expect that person to go after they land now? So they were interested and clicked on a baby shoe call to action.
Right.
But now they're on your home page and you sell, 450 different types of shoes for men, women, babies, kids, teenagers, and everything in between. What do you expect them to do? Right? And so instead, create a landing page. So it's only one extra step. Mm-hmm. Create a landing page that is specific to those baby shoes, and maybe give a promo code and say, get 10% off. And everybody who lands on the page, so at least you're going to continue that customer journey so that they know what to do.
Right.
So we lose people so often by just sending people to home pages of websites, because they're like, what do I do now?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so that really take into consideration the customer journey when you guys are thinking about any type of actions you're taking that is customer facing in your business.
Absolutely. And since you brought up the shoes, I have to mention Zappos, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you read about Zappos, it's a great company from perspective of branding and how they actually understood the customer, which is mainly women in their portfolio. They understood women so well, and they actually changed their product was not selling shoes. They were selling happiness,
Okay.
right? That's how they changed their strategy.
Yes.
The happiness that they were selling was women love shoes.
Yeah.
And they said they came out with the campaign. Actually, the investors told the CEO, I said, are you out of your mind? Because he said, people can buy as many shoes as you want and return, keep them as long as you want and return what you don't want.
Yeah.
Right? That message about selling happiness resonated with women because if you do the research, people, I mean, if a woman loved the style of the shoes, and even if they didn't fit, they said, we will lose weight to fit that shoes in and they will never return it.
Yeah.
And the average, if somebody bought 10 shoes or 10 pairs of sandals or whatever it is, they hardly return any.
Yeah.
Because the marketing strategy was selling happiness, that they struck true to their mission and what they provided from a customer service perspective. And they, I think they sold the company for, I guess, a few $1 billion, if I remember correctly.
That's awesome.
It's a great example of how you strategize as to what are you selling from a perspective, from branding perspective, knowing your customer base, and ultimately the execution part about the customer service that you provide, that everybody's happy with what they said they will provide.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's it is to be that trustworthy of what you're providing. It has to resonate with the customer. Only then your business will take off. So.
Yeah. And also the, not to really change the subject, but that point you made about the guarantee, like you can return the shoes at any time.
Absolutely.
Most people don't do that. So a lot of people are very afraid of putting guarantees on their products or services because they think everybody will take advantage. And most people don't.
Exactly.
But what it does is it removes the risk for when they're on the fence. Should I invest in this? Should I not? It removes that risk.
Right.
And that's what helps with sales, right? That helps with the conversion part of it. So,
and we touched upon a lot of aspects of marketing and the strategy behind marketing and how you align with sales and how a sales team takes the the strategy part that marketing creates and create the leads that they provide and wholesomely go after them and make them customers for life, right? But one aspect we didn't talk about, at least we didn't touch upon, we'll go into the details of it in a subsequent podcast, is training aspect of it.
yes.
The training aspect of it, and a lot of companies, at least after COVID, a lot of companies have realized the importance of training, especially their staff members, and ongoing, because the market dynamics, the market situation changes, if not by the week, by the minute.
Yeah.
Right? That's how dynamic our world that we live in has become. Social media, likes, dislikes, all that has converged into what sells in the marketplace. So training to me is absolutely critical to any one of these components to work. Even if either it's a marketing understanding, how do you do a profiling exercise? How do you know your customer? What do you do look for market research? You have to ask the critical questions in market research to come out with the right answers, because otherwise your sales strategy will fall apart.
Yes.
All that requires fundamentally strong training backgrounds and training curriculum that needs to be put in place that connects the dots between marketing, sales, and the team all together. Because any successful business that I've seen, all these 3 or 4 components of business comes together. When they're aligned, it works like a well-oiled machine, and then you find success. And I think, Des, you made the point about analytics. If you don't do your analytics, because I don't believe, and this is I'll go in the air and state this, there is no one marketing strategy that is
going to work for everyone.
Correct.
Nope.
Or even for your brand that you strategize at that moment.
Yeah.
Right? Because market dynamics change.
Yes.
You should be subtle enough or nimble enough to
Yeah.
change the marketing strategy as needed based on the feedback mechanism you put in place.
Yes.
Right. The training that you provided. It may not be efficient because there may be some gaps whether it's marketing strategy or in the execution strategy. So there has to be a cycle where you figure out what those gaps are. You get the feedback mechanism from the clientele or within your internal staff members or your team itself, and recreate the marketing strategy for how well you design or adapt to the circumstances. I'll give you a great example. Domino's Pizza, for example. Many still, a few years back, they were categorized as the cardboard pizza in the US.
Yeah.
They went on a campaign, I forget the year which they did it. They went on a campaign, an apology campaign to the US, saying that we apologize for giving you cardboard pizza.
Yep.
And they changed their entire approach to customer base. And they became one of the best-selling pizzas in the marketplace today.
That's listening to feedback from your customers.
Exactly.
Right? Huge thing.
Exactly. But they went on the air. And how bold is that strategically to, say, yes, we were at fault. And we
Very
didn't,
bold.
we apologize for not giving you your money's worth.
Vulnerability. That's a good thing, too.
And then the fresh campaign came about, and the freshness of the ingredients and all those things came about, and they bounced back from almost going bankrupt.
Yeah.
So there is those components that come into play, right? And we discussed a lot about marketing, sales, and all the components that go into play. So that leads us to something to think about. Right?
Yep.
Thought-provoking takeaways, because we want to structure our podcast in a way that at the end of it, there is some takeaways and some questions that you need to ponder about, right? So that's one of the thought-provoking takeaways from this podcast is that you should truthfully think about whether you have these components of marketing, sales in your business. If not, where is the gaps? What is missing?
Yeah.
So something to think about, and Des, please add, like, for example, the persona development together. Do you have a system in place where the marketing or the co-development of marketing and sales and strategies come together? Do you ever sit down? Is there a mechanism in which the two teams come together?
Yeah.
Because remember, marketing guys, if you are coming out with a strategy, you are expecting your sales teams to take it and sell that, right? If they are not aligned with what you're thinking process, because they are the foot on the field.
Yep.
So you need to listen to them saying that, hey, this may not be the right idea because I had X number of customers saying that this doesn't work. So what is the mechanism that is in place, right?
Yep.
Training and skill development. What is the mechanism that is around? How robust is your training and skills development program today? If not, what are the gaps?
Yeah.
And do you have a mechanism in place to look at the feedback mechanism to adjust your marketing or sales strategy? Is that the alignment?
Yeah, alignment for sure. I mean, one thing, it's one thing to meet at the end of the year and say, oh, did we meet our budgets? Did we meet our goals? But you want to do that a lot more often.
Absolutely.
Right? Not only quarterly, you should be meeting monthly and even weekly. So that you are very clear about the goals for marketing and sales, right? And a business in all. You want transparency between all of your departments so that everybody can push forward together rather than having individuals pushing. But you're going to do this by meeting and being clear about your alignment and your strategy.
Absolutely.
So having regular strategy alignment sessions is a really good thing. And then customer feedback analysis.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. Like, you want to know, just like you said for the Domino's Pizza. I mean, they completely turned around their entire company just by listening to their customer, taking advantage of that and creating a campaign out of it.
Absolutely.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
One thing that I tell some of my clients to do is take the feedback from poor reviews from your competitors.
Yep, absolutely.
And then turn those poor reviews into the plus of your company. We don't do that, right? And then create campaigns out of that and content.
Yeah.
So that's also a way of listening to customer feedback of even your competitors, so that you are gaining knowledge into your prospects, right? And your target.
Yeah. That reminds me of something else that I learned long time back in early days of my career. which is that if you look at, if you have, let's say, 100 customers,
Yep.
whatever company or whatever product you're selling, right? There's market research done, up-teen market research that's if anybody can know what percentage of those 100 clients of yours come back and complain about a misrepresentation or not being happy with the service, what percentage do you think it is?
I don't know.
Take a wild guess. Out of 100,
Out of 140?
40%?
Yeah.
It's actually, the market research shows that less than 2% comes back and tells you what is wrong with...
Less than 2, okay.
Less than 2%.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So it brought me an important lesson. What is usually human philosophy, right? When you see those two complainers walk through the door, it says, oh, here he comes or here she comes, right?
Yes.
Those are the only two people telling you what's wrong with your business. So invite them.
So reach out to ask for it.
Because the other 98, if they're not satisfied with the customer, they don't come and tell you.
Yeah.
They leave.
And mostly also it's the negative people that like to talk. It's not
Exactly.
the happy people.
Right.
So
But treat them in a very positive way, because those are the two people that are telling you what's wrong with the company. Because
Yes.
other 98%, some may be satisfied, but a lot of them, if not satisfied, they just leave, and you're wondering what happened.
Yeah.
Right? But the two people are telling you what's wrong. So take them seriously. There's something that I learned long time back in my career that is still relevant.
absolutely.
Of listening to your customer base.
Yep.
But
and one, just a side note on that, Net Promoter Score. If nobody
Yep.
knows about, a lot of people know about it, but it's a really good platform to implement in your company. And the reason why it's special is it's different than just a regular survey. It really says, how likely are you to recommend this product, service, brand, whatever, to your colleagues or friends, right?
Right.
And then they give you 1 to 10. So the whole premise of it is like the 8, 9, 10s are promoters of your company. The 1, 2, 3s are detractors, and then the middle are they're somewhere in the middle where you're trying to get those middle up into promoters of your company. But it's all automated, where if somebody, so there's these drivers where something that happens in the process, the sales process, or even the delivery of your product or whatever it may be, there's drivers as to when your clients or customers receive this survey. And so what happens is, depending on where it is in your process, it will notify every time somebody actually rates your company, it will notify your managers. And in whatever the relevant department is,
yep.
It'll say you have a neutral, that you need to push as a promoter.
Sure,
so then it'll automatically tell you that you need to contact this customer, and if you have a promoter, you thank them. If you have a detractor, you say what happened, what was your experience like. So it's a really cool program that you can implement in your entire company. So not only for your customers, but also for your employees.
Right.
But I mean, we can dig into that
Absolutely.
in the future, but
Absolutely.
it's a really cool thing. So
Right. So let's talk about what's coming up next, right? So
Yes.
What's the next podcast, of course, will be November 28th. Again, as we said, it'll be the 2nd and the 4th Tuesdays of every month. And we are excited to bring you Christopher Field. Who is Christopher Field? Chris is the president of the Hunterdon Chamber of Commerce. This gentleman is a pillar in the community of Flemington, does a phenomenal job serving the community, the business community. But his history, he's got experiences having businesses in Flemington before he got into public service. And he is an icon, so to say, within the Flemington community. So we bring him, we'll pick his brain as to what the good, bad, and the ugly from a business perspective that he experienced in his very productive career.
I'm sure he has lots of stories.
Lots of stories to tell us. And then also he would go into what the chamber stands for and what the business offerings for young entrepreneurs and also businesses, small business at large. There's so many multitude of programs in the Chamber of Commerce here, which is so very beneficial. So we'll touch upon that because those are all huge resources for everybody, not only just in Hunterdon County, wherever you live. You should tap into the Chamber of Commerce within your communities because they have a lot to offer.
Absolutely.
So we'll get a gist of all that in 2 weeks. So look forward to having him as the guest on our podcast on November 28th. So in conclusion, right, thank you again for all the listeners for tuning in our inaugural Conversion Chronicle podcast. As we said earlier, our goal is to bring a podcast that synergizes between marketing and sales and how the two components comes together so that you can be successful in any business endeavor that you're doing. And then, of course, our contact information both Desiree and myself is if you go to conversionchronicle.com. Am I right on that?
Yeah, Conversion Chronicle without the S at the end. Conversionchronicle.com. And you will see on the contact page, you will see our emails and our contact information there. You'll also get a little bit more information on this podcast. We are really happy that all of you are with us today. Please invite your friends, family, colleagues to listen. We hope you got a lot out of this. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. We will be pushing this out on most of the podcast channels out there, so you can look in the future for those episodes, for our archived episodes. Make sure you ask us questions on our Facebook page. We are also on LinkedIn. And any of our social media platforms, we will absolutely answer your questions. If you're interested in ever being a guest on the podcast and you're a business owner or
absolutely.
a professional, we would be happy to have you leave reviews on Facebook for us. And this is also going to help us reach a wider audience so that we can help more businesses.
Yeah.
And you can also join our mailing list on conversionchronicle.com. A pop-up should come up, and then we will let you know what our future episodes will be like. And make sure you just spread the word and listen to us. And if you're not available at 11 a.m. Eastern time on the second and fourth Tuesday every month, then you will find our episodes archived on Facebook for sure, but also on the other platforms. So
cool. So thank you again. Here's Des and Prem saying thank you, and look forward to connecting with you back in 2 weeks on November 28th.
thank you, everybody.
Take care.